right, we're back, and today we'll be working on the 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA 250 again. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, go check them out. We are at 125,000 miles, and we definitely have some issues, some service items we have to take care of, and we have a laundry list of stuff to do. So let me go over it, and then we'll jump right into it. First off, we're starting off with the PCV valve. We're gonna splice this one in, and we're not gonna be replacing the entire valve kit because this is the part number, and as you could see, the price is $915. And from the Mercedes-Benz dealership, it'll still be like $900 with wholesale pricing. This I got for $100. Now, before you say, Ivan, there's an extended warranty, 15 years, 150,000 miles. It's not for the GLA 250. It's for the CLA 250s and maybe other models. I've talked to 2 dealerships, 2 service managers, and I've talked to Mercedes-Benz of USA. And they're basically said this car isn't covered under that warranty. That's why we're going with the OEM PCV valve. I don't remember exactly what model this is off, but I saw a YouTube video. The PCV valve splice works. So we're gonna see if this $100 part is gonna work. Now, when you're doing the PCV valve, you're gonna have to remove the intake manifold. And while we're in there, we have easy access to the thermostat. This is a thermostat. When it starts to fail, it can start leaking. You can start getting a check engine light. So we're gonna replace this while we're in there. Now, because this thermostat pumps coolant through itself, we're gonna have to drain a little bit of the coolant. Now I got a 50-50 mix, and I also got a concentrated mix. So I can have 3 gallons of this stuff. And I will be using distilled water to mix the coolant. Now, since we're draining the coolant, we're gonna go ahead and replace, this is one of the parts that I chose to go with an aftermarket brand. This is manufacturer, I think, makes the actual lines for Mercedes-Benz. Saved $50. So that's the upper expansion tank line that we're gonna replace. With heat and stuff, the plastic gets brittle. I'm gonna replace these upper and lower coolant radiator hoses. I might as well, since we're in there. Now, over time, these radiator hoses lose integrity. Next, in order for us to do the job, we have the intake manifold upper gaskets, and then we have the throttle body gasket. Next, we're gonna replace the timing chain tensioner. It can be the symptom of your chain rattle on cold starts. I love this weather. All right, next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna clean the intake valves. Now, you can do a walnut blasting. I don't have that. What I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna do a chemical clean. So the concept of that is with direct injection, you get carbon buildup on the back of the intake valve. We wanna remove that carbon buildup with the intake manifold off. We'll be able to have access to that. And I don't think this car has ever had a walnut blast. So that's why I think it's gonna be something that we need to do. Now, because there's gonna be some leftover chemical residue, we're gonna go ahead and do an engine oil flush. And last but not least, we have our wipers. Enough talking, let's get to wrenching. First off, we're removing the engine cover. Pull it up. There's 5 grommets. Now we're gonna start by removing the intake. Now, I like to start from here. Next, we're gonna remove the ECU. Just 2 little clips. Don't lose the gasket. Then you just pull it up. Now we are gonna have some zip ties. I'm gonna cut this zip tie off because this little clip is giving me a hard time. There's another zip tie back here. Now we're gonna set this aside for now. You will need a star bit socket set if you plan on doing this. I'm gonna go with T25. We're gonna remove the air filter box. Only partially removing these screws. There we go. Next, we're gonna remove this clamp so we can remove the intake. This just comes right out. Now is a good time to replace the engine air filter if you haven't already. We just replaced ours, so we're gonna set it aside. And we remove this. And then next, we can just pull this right out. Takes a little bit of force. Now the intake manifold is back there, so that's what we're trying to get to. I'm gonna just move this O2 sensor line out of the way. Now before I go any further, before I start disconnecting connectors and sensors, I do wanna go ahead and disconnect the battery, just for peace of mind. I don't want any false check engine lights. I don't want any shorts, anything like that to happen. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Now I am gonna put a rag underneath so that way it doesn't accidentally connect. I can remove this shield too. I'm actually going to remove the battery and then I can pull it right out and it gives us a lot more room. We're already here, might as well. Don't forget this breather hose right here, and also don't forget to reinstall it. Before we can pull the battery out, we have 1 bolt holding the battery in place. It's a 13mm socket. For a better angle, there's just this little bracket right here. And this little bolt holds it right in the middle. Now we can remove the battery. I want to remove the rest of this plastic cover. All you have to do is just push these little pins in and everything just slides forward, and then you can just pull it straight up just like that. Now we have a lot more space to work with. Now with the battery disconnected, we're going to start working on these plugs right here. Now there's several that are in our way. So these are your typical connector style. Just push on this, push up. There you go. That removes the O2 sensor. So next we're just going to keep working on these connectors here. There's one connector to the throttle body. Now the way these connectors work is that there's just a little plastic tab that holds it in place. You gotta push it back and then you'll hear that little click. Push it free. And now we're going to remove these two connectors as well. I don't think you can get the order of these wrong. They all are different connectors, so it makes life a whole lot easier. Okay. Sometimes with these connectors, you have to push it forward a little bit and then pull it up. And then we have one connector left here. All right, just like that. Next, we have this E10 bolt that we're going to remove. Next, we're going to unscrew this E10 bolt as well. This is just holding this hose in place. That out of the way, we can work on removing our intercooler pipe. Just need to pull it up on both sides, and you have to remove the little centerpiece. It's loose now, so you really have to pull up on this centerpiece right here. Like it can't be in. There you go. I do have a little bit of oil in there. Don't know what that means. Now we're going to remove the rest of the intercooler hose that goes to the throttle body. Now there's 4 T25 bolts. Okay. Oh, these are actually long. It makes sense because it's holding the throttle body to the intake manifold as well. And now we're just going to do the other one. Now there is one vacuum hose. So the vacuum hose, it's like this little connector. There you go. So the way this style of hose works is you just have to pull back on this release clip. So there is a cover here. So we're going to remove the battery tray as well. There is a little clip here and here. See if we can get a needle nose pliers in there and do the job. There you go. That's all it took. All right. I think we're just gonna break the clip. It's not how you do it, but gave me no choice. Whoever designed this, thank you. Now we have the 13mm socket bolts. These are not on there, very tight. Now I can remove this tray. There is a little hose that is attached, and that is the E10. Now we have a bit more room to work with. You will need some extensions. This is a fun bolt. I'm going to remove this sensor to see if it gives me any more room. Is this the MAF sensor? I don't know what sensor this is. I'm going to be sure to replace the O-ring. I want to have to figure out why there's oil in the intercooler. And then remove this last bolt here. I don't envy the Mercedes-Benz dealership techs. This is what they have to work with on a daily basis. There is one E10 bolt down here, right here. I will say that you do need all sorts of extensions and things like that. I'm gonna go rescue this bolt from falling into the abyss. Ooh, that could have been bad. Could have fell into the intercooler. Is there anything else that's holding it? There we go. And the throttle body comes out as well. So I don't know what the sensor is here, but this is one of the gaskets we bought. Now it's time to remove the throttle body. I'll clean it up and then we'll be good to go. Now I'm gonna put a rag into this pipe so that way nothing falls in. I think this just goes up like this. There's a zip tie there. I'm gonna give you a better angle before I continue. This is what it looks like. And this is what we're looking for. So we're working on removing this intake manifold right here. And this is the entire PCV valve system, as you can see, and then it goes all the way back there. It does include this as well. If the PCV valve splice doesn't work, I'll have to redo this entire job. So wish me luck. Keep this out of the way. We have to remove this plug back here. I've seen some people put some lubricant on this connector right here just to help it free up a little bit. I have some silicone, and then we're just gonna move it around a little bit. Lunch is on the way, so see how much more progress we can make before we take a little break. Be very, very gentle with this. I'll push down and then push up, and then it's gonna come out, right? Ah, there we go. So same style, you pull up on this clip. There's a little zip tie that's holding this line in place. So we'll be sure to replace it. For now, we have to cut it from the intake manifold and be sure not to nick the wires. There we go. You should probably get an assortment of zip ties. Okay, pull on it and it'll come out. Hopefully you can see this, but there's another connector here. We're gonna remove. Okay, another one down. There's a vacuum hose or one of these hoses here that goes to the side of the intake manifold. I'm gonna wait to remove that whenever I get a little bit of a better angle on it. Now there is a hose right here that has a T25 bolt holding it. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. That comes out, and then this little hose right here comes out. Now there are some vacuum lines here, the little small ones. Okay. Vacuum line is out. This little guy goes to the intake manifold. Everything seems squishy. Everything seems good. It's going to be interesting putting everything back together. A lot of little details. Now, one thing that is left is this hose clamp right here. Seems like 90-degree pliers might come in handy here. This is a fun one. This is my girlfriend's car, soon to be fiance and future wifey. So I am definitely doing this with a smile on my face. I'm going to lose it. Okay, wow. These little short pliers came in handy. Now, from what I've seen, that rubber hose that I was just struggling with, it runs onto a mount. Oh, okay. And then you just have to remove it. And now there are 5 E10 bolts that are holding the intake manifold top back section right here. These bolts don't fall out. Just something to keep in mind. If that's not true, it'll probably come back and bite me in the butt. 2, 3, 4, and there's gotta be one more somewhere. There it is. I'd be curious to know how much Mercedes-Benz would charge for this job. I mean, obviously they wouldn't splice the hose. That's not something that they would be okay with doing. All right, the last intake manifold bolt is out. Moment of truth. Don't forget the little side hose that I showed you earlier. Let's try to get a little screwdriver in there to pry it up. Oh yeah, that's coming up. All right, little small hose on the side is out. I will say working on my Trooper is definitely a whole lot easier. This is ready to come out. Okay, there is a connector on the back here. This connector is just mounted. This is the last piece that's holding us up. Okay, everything I've read and seen just slides out one way. It's just a little bracket. Okay, we're back after our lunch break. There we go. That was insanely difficult. Now for the moment of truth. Yes. Would you look at that? All right, we finally got it out. And as you can see, there's a little bit of oil on there. And that's due to the PCV valve from what I've researched. What happens is the little diaphragm in the PCV valve tears and it just pulls a bunch of vacuum. And in that vacuum, oil gets sucked up into there too. We are fixing the PCV valve. We're gonna clean everything out. We'll move on to replacing the thermostat. Let me show you where the thermostat is. So it's this guy right here. So that's what we're going to be disconnecting and trying to get out. But first, we have to drain the coolant. In order to drain the coolant, we have to lift the vehicle up. If you haven't seen me lift the vehicle up before, you can check out my Mercedes-Benz GLA 250 100,000 mile part 1 video. Now we're at 125,000 miles. So we're racking up the miles like we get paid to do so. We got a little spill mat. Make sure our e-brake is on, which for us, it automatically gets engaged when we park. This is going to be a 17. Now, normally I would put this car on jack stands, but we have to drain the coolant and then lower the car back down so we can get to the thermostat comfortably. Okay, I'm going to put this underneath the car for some safety. Next, we need to remove the fender liner. Out of all the trim tools I have, telling me none of this will work. I guess we're just going to use 2 screwdrivers. Well, that works. Screwdrivers and pliers. And then we're just going to pull the fender liner straight out. Okay, there's one more on the bottom here. Now we're out. For now, so I'll set it aside. As you can see, there's a red screw there that if we unscrew it with a flathead screwdriver, the coolant will come running out. We're also going to open up the reservoir cap. And as you can see, some of that gets on the under tray. Very nice. We'll wait for the coolant to fully drain and then we'll close it back up. While the coolant finishes draining, we're going to remove this upper expansion tank hose. I'm going to just, so it doesn't go anywhere. And there we go. One side it goes here. All right, we're going to remove this. It's going to be E18, E14s. Okay. As you can see, this line goes from here to right here. So we're going to disconnect that. And the other end goes from here right there. You use a small little screwdriver. It works the best. No. Well, I just broke this off by trying to fix one thing. I broke something else. Well, that just disintegrated. Oh, this hose comes out right there. Okay. That's just what happens when there's heat involved in plastic. Not a good combination. Okay, finally got this hose out, and look at that. It's just gunked up in there. So I was able to get to this hose right here, and I had to use this pick through this little hole right here to get this off. Try not to break anything is the key word. Got it off. Nothing's broken on this one. Hallelujah. All right, now with that out, let's see if we can get to the lower radiator hose. The lower radiator hose is going to be this guy right there. And it goes all the way down. Okay, so I wasn't able to remove the lower radiator hose. I was able to get the top clip, but the bottom one, that guy right there, I wasn't able to get. I ordered a tool. I want to give it a try. If it comes in time, I think I want to leave it for now. So I just got these hose clamp pliers. They just came in. Apparently these are supposed to help with hard to reach areas. And obviously I haven't tried this tool out, but just something to keep in mind if you do want to check this out. Okay, that's closed. For now, we're going to put this back. I'm just going to leave it hanging, and I'm going to put the wheel back and lower the car so we can continue doing the thermostat. It's going to be hard to see, so I'm going to try to walk you through as I go. So I'm just going to use the new thermostat as a reference for all the hoses that I need to remove. So the orientation of the thermostat is just like that. We're going to remove this top connector right here. Start disconnecting the hoses. I'm hoping between these three styles of pliers will be okay. All right, those won't work. Oh, these are gonna be fun. We got more coolant that I wasn't prepared for. This entire hose is out. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the upper radiator hose. Okay. That's on there good. Oh, there we go. These come in handy when trying to break these hoses. Next, we have to remove the other side as well. Looking at the upper radiator hose, I think it's a good time to replace them. And we're just gonna pop this one in. You can't really mix this up because one side is smaller than the other side. Connect this up. It's already got some coolant on there, so it helps a little bit with putting these on. Like that. It's perfect. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So the upper radiator hose is installed, and we're gonna continue working on the thermostat. Oh. What? My PCV valve snapped off from somewhere. I was not anticipating that. This hose is very brittle. Was it broken before by chance? Probably not. I will say that this is not as beginner friendly as some of the other ones because there's just so many different hoses and connectors going everywhere. Keep working on the thermostat and we'll go from there. So we have this connector out. We have this out. What we need to do is get this. Okay. Another hose off. All of these bolts are not on very tight. Really not much torque to them. Are these bolts gonna come out or no? No. Okay. I think we're good on this side. I'm trying to get this bolt on this side now. It should just pop out now because it's got a little O-ring. All right, we got a couple more hoses before I think we can wiggle it loose. That is a fun hose to get to. Yeah, I'll be honest, guys. I don't know if I would recommend this job to anyone. I can't imagine that this is going to be a cheap job from the dealership. Just to give me a little bit of a break and so that I don't feel like I'm getting my butt kicked, I'm going to replace the PCV valve. Uninstall this connector, and there's of course some oil. We're going to use an electric connector cleaner, and it is positioned this way. It's exactly the same, and this is where it broke. Actually, this is perfect. Exactly where it's supposed to be. I just got to figure out where it goes. I got to get a catchy thumbnail. You can either try to replace it with the $1,000 part or a $100 part, if this works. All right, back to our filming. And what I like to do is use some contact cleaner to make sure all the connectors are clean. And then once I clean that and it's dried out, I put some dielectric grease on it, just to make sure the connection's good. Clean the oil off. Now we can reinstall the new part. Perfect. Nice click. And then we're gonna click that in place. And the hardest part is getting these clamps. Some of these clamps are in a very weird position. Okay, this is out. thermostat wants to come out. There's one of those wire holders. We're just gonna cut it loose. 2 more hoses. Another one down. We're down to 1. Oh! Whew. Let me show you what I was working with. This guy right here. And you have to remove it in order to get to it. So let's be sure to be ready to reinstall the new one. I'm gonna go like this. I just wanna make sure that I put it back in the same position so that none of the hoses get kinked. Okay. Try to keep it at the same angle as it was before. There we go. That's perfect. Now this is ready to go back in. Before we do that though, I want to figure out the PCV valve. This goes here, goes down there. Okay, so I found my broken hose. This will go over the broken part. So it fits on there perfectly. And all we're gonna have to do is just get it all the way in and then clamp it down. That's how the PCV valve splice works. Easy as that. One thing I forgot to do is to transfer over the PCV valve heat shield. So that's coming right back out. Better now than later though. Step into my workshop. What we're gonna do is remove this guy and then cut it open. And we might have to cut it short. That's pretty nice. Let's try some scissors. Keep it as OEM as possible. Oh wow. Looks pretty good if I say so myself. I want to zip tie this. They'll never know. How will they know? They'll never know. I mean, I would say that looks pretty OEM. It's gonna be as good as it gets. All right, let's reinstall this piece now. The connector is right here. Oh yeah, perfect click. I think what happened is I pulled on the hose when I was removing the intake manifold and it ripped the PCV valve hose, but that's okay. I think we're on there. Now I just gotta get it fully clipped in. Oh, it's on. Oh, yes. It's on there. Good. PCV valve installed. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. My hamstrings are on fire. Before I started installing the thermostat, I decided to take a look at the back of the intake valves. And yeah, there's a lot of carbon buildup. Let me see if I can show it to you. I don't really get to use this camera often, so I'm excited. It still smells brand new. Look at how much carbon buildup there is. As you can see, there is a lot. I gotta make sure that the valves are fully closed before pouring in any cleaner. If any fluid gets inside the cylinder, it can hydrolock and bend rods, and that would be a very bad day for us. That's bad. This looks like something from Stranger Things. And that's gonna be our next project before we put in the thermostat. Yeah, I think it gives us a little bit more room to work. Also, don't forget to remove this little hanger. If you weren't able to remove it, I just cut the zip tie, so we'll just put a new zip tie on there. I mean, I think it's normal, but there is definitely some gunked up coolant in there. This one's not the prettiest one. This piece broke off, I think, in the engine bay. Well, I mean, to say it was brittle, it was brittle. I was able to remove the piece that broke off, and as you could see, it just became very brittle. Good thing we're replacing it. I can't tell whether the intake valve is open or closed. They all look close to me, to be honest. Tomorrow's Saturday. If my dad is able to come take a look at the camera while I spin over the engine, and if he could tell the difference between when they're open and closed, then we could do it ourselves. I'm gonna be fully transparent. If I don't feel comfortable doing something, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna pay the professionals to do it, because if they get it wrong, it's under warranty. If I get it wrong, it's out of my own wallet. So hydrolocking an engine is not gonna be cheap. Most professional shops, they use walnut blasting anyways. Okay, we're back. Next day, I was able to get new parts from the Mercedes-Benz dealership. This little hose right here that I broke off, it comes with the plastic piece at the end. They had it in stock, so we're very fortunate. We're gonna do the chemical cleaning of the carbon on the back of the intake valves. My dad's gonna man the camera. I'm gonna lift the car up. So we're gonna try to make sure the intake valves are closed, and in order to do that, we're gonna have to spin the motor by hand. So what we're gonna do is turn this bolt clockwise. Now, because the spark plugs are in, there is going to be some back pressure, and we're gonna just turn it slowly and steady so that the air has a chance to escape. 27, okay, it's 27. If it closes or opens, let me know. So we're gonna do a full turn again. It's very easy to turn this, by the way. So me and my dad are onto something, so I actually feel more comfortable. The valve stays closed for a good bit until the other valve opens fully. Is the other one closed too? Good? It should be the same? Closed? Okay. So we're gonna pour it into the back of the intake valves right here. through these holes. There's 4 on the back of the engine. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off with the brake cleaner, just to make sure that the valves are actually closed. And if it kind of stays put, then we know that we can start pouring in this stuff right here. We can see that when I pour the brake fluid in, it sits there. So it's not leaking through into the cylinder. So that gives us peace of mind that the intake valves are actually closed for that cylinder. And we're gonna pour in the cleaner, let it sit for maybe 15, 20 minutes. Both valves. And now we're just gonna let it sit. Just make sure that we have enough fluid in there. Oh yeah, so that's our cleaner sitting there. Nice, Dad. That's a pro. We're gonna get our shop vac. Make sure that your vacuum is wet, dry. Ultimate DIY hack. In order for us to be able to pull out all the gunk and stuff, I have some heater hose laying around. Then what we're gonna do is just tape the hose. All right, we're gonna test it out. Our makeshift fluid extractor. Oh yeah. Oh, that's nice, Dad. It's not crazy if it works, right? We got some nylon brushes. I'm gonna do some more scrubbing. Let's inspect our work. So there's still some carbon buildup, but it's much better. So we're just gonna do maybe another round. We're gonna repeat the process and let it sit for a little bit longer this time. I cleaned all the little mass flow air sensors that were covered up in oil. Made sure that I got a MAF sensor safe cleaner, and everything should be working as good as new. We're gonna finish up the expansion tank. All right, we have our new one. Okay, that's all the way in. Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere. Final product. Is this O-ring supposed to be there? Oh, it went right in. I think that O-ring was not supposed to be there. I think that's just for the dust protection. Oh yeah, that's done, that's done. That's put back together, and then this is connected as well. We're actually finally making some progress. All right, we're vacuumed it out, and now we're gonna just blow some air to make sure that all the fluid, all the cleaner, all the carbon that has broken off is out. This is after we've cleaned it, we've blown it out. It looks a whole lot better than it was before. Not perfect, but it's good enough for a DIY job at home. This should have been done twice. I think 60,000 miles is recommended. We'll be back when we finish all 4 of them. While we're waiting for the valves to soak, we're gonna replace the timing tensioner bolt, passenger side. And the timing tensioner bolt goes right here. There's this plastic cover that we're gonna remove, and then we'll be able to unscrew the bolt. It's gonna be hard to film, so I'll do my best throughout the process. In the meantime, my dad's gonna help me out with removing the old gaskets and putting in the new ones for the intake manifold, the throttle body. And thank you again, Dad, for your help. All right, so I just removed the cover and it's oily. So old bolt is out, and we had a 17mm socket on a medium size wrench, and we can put the new one in. Everything seems fine. There is no O-ring. We're gonna torque the new one down to 40 Newton meters or 30 foot-pounds. And surprisingly, it's actually not that hard to get to it. Okay, timing tensioner bolt, torque to spec. All right, while we're waiting for the intake cleaner to work, I'm gonna go ahead and replace my wiper blades. Now, I have no idea how to replace my wiper blades. So I found this guy. I'm gonna watch his video.
The YouTube channel.
And I heard he's an awesome YouTuber. It's me, Dad. One of my very first videos that I released. But that video is actually my 3rd most watched video. So I get a lot of views on my Mercedes-Benz videos. All right, rear one replaced. And now we're gonna do the front ones. It's like a sticker that you peel off. Is it supposed to be like an indicator on when you need to replace them? If so, that would be kind of cool. One down, one to go. Now we're going to install everything in reverse order, but I'll be sure to highlight any nuances, or I want to make sure to point out the torque specs. All right, we're moving on to torquing down the thermostat. We've connected all the hoses. All of these E10 bolts are going to be 9 Newton meters or 80 inch-pounds. All right, one difference that I found easier when reinstalling is that I removed these 2 hoses. This one goes right here, and I just put a screwdriver in and twisted it, and it popped right out. And then this hose right here goes right in here, and that was just a little worm clamp. So pulled those out of the way, and that gave us a little bit more clearance, the intake manifold, when installing it. So now we have the intake manifold bolts on, and we're gonna go ahead and torque them down in sequence. So for the intake manifold, or as the ALLDATA refers it to, the charge air distributor to cylinder head is gonna be 14 Newton meters. And for the pressure sensor, it's going to be 6 Newton meters. We're gonna start inwards and work our way out. Okay, 5 volts, all torqued to spec. And now we're gonna continue connecting all the connectors and stuff. And for the MAP pressure sensor to intake manifold, it's gonna be 6 Newton meters or about 53 inch-pounds. We're also replacing the zip ties. Okay, just gonna trim the end off. So we came across a little situation with the new PCV valve that we put in, and because my old one broke off when I was pulling the intake manifold off, when I installed the new PCV valve, I thought it was good, but it's actually a little bit short. When I try to put it onto the intake manifold, the back of it, it's stretched out to the max, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. So what we're gonna use the old PCV valve hose and just splice it in. This is the old PCV valve from one side. This is the old PCV valve hose from the other side. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make a perfect fit, and then we have some fuel clamps, and I'm just gonna tighten it down. And it shouldn't go anywhere. It's a vacuum, so if anything, it'll be pulling it together. I think this should work. Now I can't get this out. And if you had any worries, it's on there tight. Just to show you what I'm talking about, this is where the PCV valve kind of naturally sits, and the intake manifold is on this side. So it's like an inch short. This should give us the perfect amount of length, and we could always cut it down a little bit more if we need to. We're gonna be splicing the splice. Dream within a dream. That was a movie reference. And Dad really helped me out with the reinstallation, because honestly, my hamstrings were toast. All right, moment of truth. Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere, Dad. Woo! Fits like a glove. All right, we're gonna zip tie this hose away. The E18 bolts are gonna be 78 foot-pounds or 106 Newton meters. And the E14 bolts are gonna be 42 foot-pounds or about 58 Newton meters. 75 and 42, Dad. You want to start filling up the coolant while we're at it? We're going to be using the Xerox G40 by Valvoline, which is Mercedes-Benz approved. We're going to torque down the throttle body bolts to 80 inch-pounds. Throttle body complete. We're going to plug it all up now. Charge pipe, we're going to do 6.6 foot-pounds again, or 8 Newton meters, same as before. Nice. 13mm socket bolts that hold the battery tray down are going to be torqued down to 20 Newton meters or 15 foot-pounds. Oh, I think it's going to be okay. So this goes here. Okay, beautiful. There we go. My dad says to put some dielectric grease on the battery terminals as well. Don't forget your breather hose for the battery. Make sure not to touch the ground to the positive battery if it's plugged in. And now we're just going to hand tighten these. I don't know what the torque specs are, but it's very easy to strip these out if you over torque them. So I'm going to go finger tight. Use your own judgment on this. You'll feel it once it starts getting tight. And the last thing, we got to tighten this one down. Also, I'm just going to go hand tight. Okay. We're going to torque the wheel lug nuts to 96 foot-pounds or 130 Newton meters. Thank you, Dad. I think that's it, Dad. We're going to top off the windshield washer fluid because I know we've been using it. And we're going to check for any leaks before we put the engine cover back on. And then once we start it up, we're going to let it run for a little bit. And then I'm going to change the engine oil and filter because we use the chemicals. I put in some seafoam in there. And the way to make sure that the coolant system is bled, we want to keep this open. We're going to start the car up. We're going to let it warm up to operating temperature. We're going to turn the heat on all the way up, and then we're going to turn the fan speed all the way up. So that way the heater core opens up and the coolant bleed the system. We're going to squeeze the upper and lower radiator hoses just to make sure that there's no air bubbles. And very important, you don't want to top off the coolant reservoir all the way to the top. There is a little plastic T at the very bottom of the coolant reservoir. You just need to have it filled up to cover that. So just keep in mind. And also if your coolant needs to be added up, you'll get a message on your dashboard. So I think in this case, it's a little bit better to underfill than to overfill. Let's go ahead and start the car and say a prayer. Last but not least, we're going to clear all the codes before we start the car, and then we're going to recheck them. As you can see, we've had some stored ones before, so do a quick erase. One of them was for a PCV valve. All right, Ed, you ready? Moment of truth. Woo! As my dad is saying, it sounds really good. All right, guys, we're gonna let it warm up. We're gonna bleed the cooling system. Just wanted to say, Dad, thank you for your help. I couldn't have done it without you. I will say that this was definitely a very challenging DIY on the more difficult side. So I would probably give this, if rebuilding a transmission on my Trooper is a 10, I would probably give this like, what, 7.5, 8? You got to remember where everything goes. You got to make sure that the connectors are all in the right place. It's not even that, it was just very difficult. My hamstrings are numb right now because they hurt so much. The last thing we want to do is have any leaks. We have an oil leak. The timing tensioner bolt, that cover, because we don't have that cap on, is spraying oil everywhere. Here's the old one. I do see that there's like oil stains and it's shooting oil out. I guess this cap holds all the oil in. So if we can't put this cap back in, we'll need a new one. I mean, like Dad said, it already sounds way better. So we're doing something right. Dad, I think we might be good. We're gonna change the oil now and filter. No check engine light came on, Dad? All right, well, that's good news because the check engine light will come on for the PCV valve almost right away. We heard a little bit of a noise. We're gonna put in some fresh engine oil and change the filter out and give it some time to run up to temperature. Hopefully that noise goes away, but I've already done a video on this before, so go check it out in part 1 of my 100,000 mile service. And there's plenty of other stuff. Let's get this done in 3, 2, 1. And just like that, we're done. And we're gonna check the engine oil. It does sound a lot better. Might be that we lost a bunch of oil, I don't know. Cleaned everything up. Engine oil is perfect. And I also checked, our check engine light is completely gone. We have like an air conditioning unit, some sort of collision prevention assistance that we've had for a while. I'm not really worried about it. And we're gonna test drive it after we bleed the coolant system. Get it nice and toasty in here. The car is now up to operating temperature and it's staying there, so it's not overheating, so that's a good sign. The coolant is now right above the T mark, so I think we're good there. Everything was looking good. There is a little bit of a chain noise, I think, but we're gonna drive around. We might need to do the chain guide and all that stuff in the future. We also made sure to check the tire pressure. We did the full service on this. I'll wipe everything off and then I'll go for a test drive. And then we're gonna come back and make sure that there's no oil leaks. As you can see, the coolant temperature is staying put. We have no check engine light and we have no check engine light there. It's looking and running better than it has in a long time. So one thing to note is that the cap is actually a single-use item. Now, we went to the Mercedes-Benz dealership when we got a new one. It was only like $12. And I did confirm with them that it is single-use. So anytime you're replacing the timing tensioner bolt, or even if you're just removing the tensioner cap, you have to replace this. We did go for a test drive and there was a little bit of an oil leak coming from that area. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace this now. Just something to keep in mind. Here's the part number if you need it. A270-015-0200. All right, I just installed the new plug, and when I tell you guys it was so easy to install, I'm not kidding. This is the old one after 125,000 miles. It's definitely much less malleable and pliable. Do yourself a favor. The $12 that I spent on the new plug not only is going to prevent oil leaks, but it was just a whole lot easier to install. Another thing we had to do after the test drive is top off our coolant. The light came on and the system is bleeding itself. That was expected. And I just need to add a little bit more coolant. And that's all there is to it. We're gonna go for test drive number 2. Now I'm gonna reinstall this under tray now that we have confirmed that we have no active oil leaks, which is just the opposite of removing it. But just be careful with these screws. I don't know what the torque specs are, but just hand tight. Once you feel it, don't over tighten these because they'll easily snap in half.
For a guy who can fix it everything because you never buy new one.
My dad was saying they have a joke that says, don't get married to a person that can fix something because then you'll just never have anything new. So Very relevant actually here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more content in the future, my videos, hit the subscribe button. We have the Mercedes-Benz, we have the BMW 335i that we're going to start on soon. And we have the Trooper video that I did a full restoration on. Transmission, engine rebuild, coming soon as well. And yes, it really did take 2 full days. Like, I think I've worked 13 hours today, and yesterday was probably another 12. So it's another one of those weekend-long marathons. Set aside some time if you want to do this one. Thank you so much. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one. And thank you, Dad, for your help.